Regent Stein.
Thank you very much. I have a question about the use of TAs and about our capacity to save money in the short and intermediate term. But before I get there, I simply have to address something. We've talked extensively about how students learn in different ways today, how students are ready to intake information in new platforms, how students are ready for this shift. No one has asked students if they're actually interested in this. No one has asked students if they want this. I have consulted with students, and Cynthia has consulted with students across all 10 campuses, and I can tell you unequivocally that they would view something like the first 2 years of a UC education being fully online as a degradation of their education and about the academic experience. Forget the fact that we don't know whether or not you can learn for 2 years off of a screen entirely, but we have thrown out sports, clubs, volunteerism, student leadership. I learn more outside of the classroom than I do inside the classroom, and that's because I spend time working with students, partnering with students, organizing with students. I don't know how all that's possible if the first 2 years of a UC education are entirely online. If someone had bothered to consult with students about whether or not these goals were appropriate, they would have told you that online education, if used to supplement our current education, is acceptable and probably a good thing. But online education used to entirely substitute for our current education is not something we would embrace. I want to speak to two other things. Provost Orr, if you would be so kind to go back to the chart in which you list the number of courses we have.
Other way? No. Yes.
Table 2. Thank you. Yes. So, given that we have 16 courses provided on campus to our current students and 11 provided from UCOE to our current students, I'm hoping that we have enough data to tell us whether or not TAs and graduate students were used in equal numbers in those 27 classes as they are on average at our other classes, our non-online classes. I'd be interested in that data next time we're presented anything about online education, and perhaps the professors who we were introduced to earlier today can speak to whether or not they use TAs and graduate students in as many numbers as they previously did. Thank you very much. And secondly, given that we have 27 classes already, I'd like to know if we've seen cost savings or the promise of cost savings. I understand that we're building something here and there's startup costs. I get that. But we're talking about a very high-touch model that involves a huge amount of contact with graduate students and with professors and takes enormous amounts of faculty time and developer time to create. I have yet to see how we're going to engender significant short-term or even intermediate-term cost savings. Maybe it's there in the long term, but that seems speculative to me. I have yet to see any sort of data that would convince me otherwise. Perhaps it's available. Perhaps from those 27 classes we have data that says cost savings are around the corner. But that needs to be presented to us, and right now I feel like we have nothing.
Thank you, Regent Stein. Governor Brown has a comment to make.
Just very quickly, I really appreciate the comments there because it heightens the conflict, and if I even want to say contradiction, not to sound too ideological. Let's get real. I'm proposing 5% more in your budget. You're proposing 11.6. How do you make up the gap? Either students make it up in tuition increases this year and forever, faculty does something different, or in some way we change the model, or the people of California decide they want to invest more than they have historically in higher ed. So there's a brute reality out there. It's called the gap between 5 and 11.6% growth this year, and next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. So there's not a luxury of sitting in the present trajectory unless you don't mind paying ever-increasing tuition. And that is a pathway that always sits out there because you can always borrow more money. And student debt is at $1 trillion, it can go to $2 trillion. This happens. Who knows what's going to happen? We're embarked, I think, on some very important work, and I just want to commend everyone here because for their interest, for raising all these questions. This is tough stuff, and we're not going to get it done in a day, but it's very exciting, it's very important, and I really am impressed that UC is leading the way here. We're not there, but we're on the way. And more than that, I think, would be very foolish to expect.
Thank you, Governor. Dean Edley.
That's right. Blame me.
It's thanking you, Chris, not blaming you.
Thank you. I come at this, and I'm speaking obviously not as so much as a policy advisor to the president, but just as a faculty member with tenure. The gap to which the governor referred between the 5% and the 11.6% is very much on my mind. The other gap that's on my mind is the shortfall of about 40,000 students in our enrollment at the UC that was identified by the Gould Commission a couple of years ago. So the reason that I first got involved in this 3.5 years ago was because of a sense that we had to do something about access, and that we clearly were not serving, either currently and definitely not in the future, all of the people of California who should be benefiting from a UC quality education. As the president said, I don't see a bricks and mortar solution to that. Which I think leads us very importantly to focus on this. Now, I am not sure, based on what I've observed since I wrote about this in the LA Times 3.5 years ago, I'm not sure, Governor, that UC, that the University of California system of governance, is up to the challenge of leading on this issue. Every day we see a couple of news accounts of other institutions that are being bolder and more innovative. In some respects, it's the excellence of the system that makes it more conservative. Because I think a lot of faculty and students' view is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And innovation in that sense does have some upside, but it also has some huge potential downsides. So I would say that if at some point you and other state leaders have doubts about what the UC will be able to do by way of innovation, I'd say talk to Tim White, the president of the Cal State system. Talk to the community college system about whether they should be the tip of the spear in trying to create models, new models. I'd also say that I am not very worried about what the campuses do to innovate, because I think it's just going to happen. I don't think they need a whole lot of prodding from the Regents or from the Office of the President in order to do what faculty want to do anyway, which is be better, be imaginative, excite the students. Where I do think we need to be innovative is at figuring out how to serve non-matriculants, figuring out how to serve those 40,000 qualified Californians who aren't going to be able to find a place in UC. Because we can't count on the campuses to do that. They've got their hands full educating the people they can't squeeze onto the campuses. I'm not that interested, frankly, in figuring out how to save money on our current campuses by using these technologies, because I think there's already a lot of budget pressure on the campuses to figure out how to do that, and how to do that in a way that's consistent with quality. But what I do see is a large revenue opportunity by serving new students, non-matriculants, and giving them a robust transfer curriculum of the sort that the President described in his opening remarks. So the large enrollment, lower division courses that can be marketed to qualified Californians, and yes, to people in China and people on Venus. because I think it's those new revenue possibilities that then give us the possibility of cross-subsidizing our traditional bricks-and-mortar campus delivery of UC quality, that give us the opportunity to expand the faculty, to hold tuition down, to have more PhD students, and the like, while serving more Californians. So in answer to what Regent Lozano and Regent Island said earlier about what's the strategy, my recommendation would be to focus on a strategy of creating, in essence, a charter UC campus that is focused on online delivery, with faculty as the quality control for excellence, with innovation and evaluation as centerpieces, and to build from UCO towards that model. Because I think there are political risks to being clear about the end you have in mind. I've been burned in effigy, so I know there are political risks to it, but it can also, I think, clarify and focus. And if we or CSU were to focus on creating a charter campus that would deliver high-quality instruction, I think that would provide some focus, and all these other benefits, the lower marginal cost, the innovation, the improved time to degree and so forth, those would just come as secondary spin-off benefits, it seems to me. Lastly, I think that when President Yudof asked me, I don't know, almost 4 years ago, to lead an intersegmental group working on transfer issues, we got a report from some number crunchers one day about the thousands of UC-eligible students finishing community college, their lower division work, who, although qualified to transfer to UC, decided instead to go to the University of Phoenix or elsewhere, paying more money for a less valuable credential. And this was a puzzle. And then the number cruncher said, and they're disproportionately black and Latino. And I think what that means is that there are people who deserve access to UC quality for whom what we're serving just doesn't work. Something about their life circumstances, something about the economics of it, it doesn't work for them. But if we don't serve them, it's not good for California, because they deserve the best, and we need them to get the best. So I think that is an additional imperative from my point of view on figuring out this new delivery model and doing it sooner rather than later. Thank you.